Hello everybody and welcome back to DC Central. In today's video we'll be talking about and discussing the news that has recently dropped regarding The Flash Season 6 and that it will be ending early with the season finale now being episode 19, so let's discuss. So yes, you heard that right. I'm sure a lot of you on Twitter would have seen this sort of falling out over last night, but it was officially revealed by The Flash himself, Grant Gustin, that episode 19 of this season, which is otherwise entitled Success is Assured, is going to actually end up being the season finale for The Flash Season 6, meaning they're not going to be able to finish the final 3 or so episodes of Season 6, and we're just going to sort of be leaving it on episode 19 and then presumably going into Season 7. So this is very interesting news. This is stuff that was developing, of course. We did know, obviously, The Flash and all the other DC TV shows have halted production, and many of their final episodes of the season have sort of been in limbo, and we've been wondering what's going to happen with it. It seemed like before this came out that we all sort of presumed that they were going to finish the episodes, but it seems like, based on Grant's comments here, that they're actually going to be just ending the season with episode 19, and then they'll pick up with season 7 come, whenever they actually start filming again. But let's just go through this interview. It starts with an interview from TV Line. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire interview just because it is kind of a generic interview that kind of just talks about the next episode that we're getting this week. If you want to see a full breakdown of this interview, be sure to check out Paige's most recent video. He did a great video on this, and he goes into it in more detail and things like that. But what I'm going to focus on in this interview is the final question, which is from TV Line here, and it says, as far as Thawne, who's ostensibly crackling around or out there somewhere, should we be afraid what or whose form he should take? And Grant Gustin responds, there was going to be a big Thawne cliffhanger at the end of what this season would have been, but that's not going to be the cliffhanger that we get. Episode 619, Success is Assured, is going to end up being our finale, so we're going to have a different cliffhanger than originally planned, but the cliffhanger at the end of 619 does serve as a pretty good finale. So that are the comments from Grant. Now, he's basically saying that originally the plan was we were going to have this big season finale for Season 6 that was going to end with Thawne, of course the Reverse Flash, and a big cliffhanger surrounding him and something that was going to happen to him. But it seems like what's going to happen is instead is that we're not going to get that, and because obviously they haven't filmed it, they haven't actually been able to get the footage for that. So instead they're going to be using the cliffhanger that's at the end of episode 19 of this season, and are going to be using that as the series finale cliffhanger. So very interesting development here. This is not what I expected to happen at all, but it's very interesting nonetheless. So what would this Thawne cliffhanger, what would it have been? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think Thawne has, he's not really been a part of this season necessarily. He's kind of been looming over. Of course, we had the first season arc with Bloodwork, and we thought Thawne was going to come in Crisis. That didn't really happen. And then in the back half of the season, we did have the episode recently with Nash Wells, the exorcism of Nash Wells, where we saw Thawne return sort of within the mindscape of Nash Wells and things like that, and that was very cool. So they were setting things up with Thawne, and it seemed like as well that perhaps, there was a big theory going around that Thawne was actually going to take the form of Godspeed, or one of the Godspeed clones that were set up at the beginning of the season. So there was definitely a lot of things going on with Thawne. Personally, I think they honestly could have set something up with him becoming Godspeed, and that would have gone into Season 7. So we could have technically gotten Godspeed as a full season villain for Season 7, and again, that could still that still very may end up happening. But, we would have got the setup for that in this season, whereas now we're not going to. So I think the cliffhanger with Thawne, I think it personally would have revolved around something to do with him perhaps taking up the mantle of Godspeed, or, taking the form of August Hart or something like that. And we would have seen that run into Season 7. But, of course, now we know that that cliffhanger with Thawne isn't going to be happening. However, Grant does say that the cliffhanger at the end of 619 does serve as a pretty good finale. So what does that mean? Well, basically he's saying that obviously the cliffhanger that was basically already there at the end of 619 that was obviously just going to run into 620 is actually going to be a pretty decent finale for what was the season. So what could this be? Well, obviously it could be anything really. It could be absolutely anything. I think personally it's probably going to link into Eva and the new version of the Mirror Master in the Mirror Dimension, probably something with Iris as well. There has been rumours from very early on in the season regarding Iris and sort of a big reveal for her. I'm not going to go too far into that just because I don't want to you know, spoil it for anybody who perhaps doesn't want to know what that could be, but there is rumors of this big reveal for Iris, and I think it could be something to do with that. They could link that in, particularly because of her storyline this season with Eva in the mirror dimension. They could do something with that. And also, obviously, this all ties into Black Hole as well. Black Hole has essentially been the back half villain of this season. So I think, again, that could all tie together. So I feel like the cliffhanger that's going to be at the end of 619 is going to be something along the lines of Eva with Iris and all linking into Black Hole. What that will be specifically is, you know, something we'll have to wait and see. Of course, the next episode that we're going to be getting is going to be episode 16. We're getting that this week. So make sure you stay tuned for my review for that. And then we're going to get 17, 18, and then 19, and that will be the end of the season. What's nice to know as well is that obviously there are no more breaks now. We are, you know, basically beelining it for the season finale. So the season finale is in sight now, and it's good to know as well. It's good to know that where the season's going to end, because again, it was kind of a thing we were all questioning. We didn't know what was going to happen, if they were going to finish all the episodes or if they were just going to, you know, cobble together some stuff that they had and throw together something. We didn't quite know what was going to happen, so it's quite nice to know now that episode 19 is the season finale, so we know when that is and we know to look forward to that. And it's quite good as well, because we just have this final run of episodes now, these final 4 or so episodes to look forward to. And this does make the Season 6 quite interesting, because it does make Season 6 the shortest season of The Flash. And I think that's obviously it's not planned to be like that, but it's still pretty cool to kind of look at it in that way. So, you know, I think it's pretty interesting to finally know that 619 is going to be the series finale, and it is going to end on a cliffhanger, which should bring us into Season 7, depending on how they handle Season 7. So let's talk about that a little bit. How is it going to affect Season 7? So obviously with this season, they have a little bit of story left to tell. They will naturally. Obviously they've written the episodes. What they could do is they could potentially make Season 6, or Season 7, sorry, they could make it a bit longer. That is a potential. They could, you know, basically add on a couple of extra episodes to essentially just wrap up the story of Season 6 and then go into Season 7. Obviously, it's not going to be the most natural form of storytelling, but I think obviously people would be able to know that obviously due to the global situation, it wasn't a thing that was planned, it wasn't something that they wanted to do, but I feel like they could do that. They could add on a couple of episodes, especially because The Flash has been decreasing in episodes naturally recently. There is room for them to kind of just add in a couple of extra if they wanted to. Obviously I'm not part of the CW as a network exec, I don't know anything, so maybe that's not a thing they can do, but you know, I just think that realistically there is a chance that they could do something like that. Or they could basically wrap up the storyline of Season 6 within this episode and kind of retroactively fit it into the storyline for Season 7. That could happen, because again, we know nothing about Season 7 at this point. So it's very interesting to talk about. It's very interesting to see, because Season 7, I think, was probably going to have a completely different storyline. Whereas now, they might have to change some things around, and again, they might have to spend perhaps the first couple of episodes or so of Season 7 wrapping up the Season 6 stuff and then going into Season 7 and that storyline, which again could work. I mean, The Flash does have a lot of episodes to play around with. There is quite a lot of filler week to week, so they could use that extra time to wrap up Season 6. So I think, you know, it's not entirely a terrible situation. You know, I don't think we're going to miss out on any story particularly, because again, the Flash writers, they're very clever, and I'm sure they'll be able to put this all together, but I think it's something that is very interesting to look at. And I think that when you look at Season 7, when we're going to go into it, that storyline probably is going to be different a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be majorly different, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But what did you guys think about this news? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you looking forward to the return of The Flash for the next 4 weeks? And what do you feel about the finale being episode 19? Do you think it's going to affect the season badly, or do you think it's going to play into it quite well? And how do you think it's going to affect Season 7? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more DC content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos from DC Central. And I hope to see you guys again next time.